Hi there. It's Gaz yet again on for his sixth podcast recording in a row. But I've got a friend this time. I'm joined by Cal. Cal, how you been?
Good. I missed you. I don't know where I've been, but I've missed you. That's for sure. I'm sorry to leave you alone for so long.
That's all right. I've been joined with some great guests for the Brewers, Rangers, and Mets podcasts. All season reviews that are all out on now Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Go and listen to them. They're great. It's just me talking for 40 minutes with a guest. What more could you want?
Hell yeah, dude.
Um, Anyway, we're back with another season review series. We're coming to, we're not going to be able to cover all 30 teams in these episodes because there are some teams like the Marlins and the Pirates who we don't seem to have any fans for that have reached out. But the ones we have got left, we're going to make use of, and I'm really excited for this one. Cal, we're going to be talking about the Cleveland Guardians, who famously were so nice to let the Cubs lift their 108-year curse. And the only reason I'm saying that now is because our guest is currently waiting in the studio, and she can hear us and see us. And no doubt, I just want to get one jibe in before we hit the episode proper. So joining us from the Caught Lookin podcast, which is based on Guardians baseball with a little bit of Cavaliers basketball, but we're not going to talk about that because I don't really like basketball. Is Sarah? Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
That's okay. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Although I don't appreciate the PTSD of the Cubs World Series right before my introduction. So thank you for that.
I'm going to get one jibe in, and that's it. And feel free to return fire with however many you want over the next however long we chat to.
Fair enough.
I'll take it as it is. So, as is tradition here, before we get into the season review, we have got a couple of hot takes for you. Are you familiar with the Nando's Spice Scale?
A little bit.
Okay, well.
Just the basics, I think.
No worries. So I'll give a quick recap just for you and all of the viewers that have never had Nando's before, which is likely anyone outside of the UK. Nando's is it's not a British restaurant chain at all. I think it was Portuguese originally, and we've just taken it over as we've done with a lot of things in our lives. And we call it British because everyone likes the cheeky Nando's. Now, we're going to give you some hot takes. If you think they are, if you agree with them, they're mild, not even worth talking about. Yes, I agree with you guys. We can move on with our lives. But if you don't agree, you can ramp up the spice. We start with mild, we go lemon and herb, medium, hot, very hot. And if you think it's outrageous, you can use the secret menu item, which is called Peri Tamer, which is actually a really nice little barbecue spice. It's not as you think it wouldn't be as spicy as the very hot, and you'd be correct. But because it's not on the menu, that's our extra spicy one. They're normally given by my greyhound Boo. She has now gone missing for the last 3 months on this podcast. No need to fret. She's just behind me laying down. As I said, she's a greyhound. She's retired. She'll be back in March, along with a lot of baseball. So, Sarah, are you ready for your hot takes?
I'm ready.
Perfect. Number one. See, I've been told in the past that some of my hot takes have not been spicy enough. So I think I've got two good ones here. First one is that Jose Ramirez has been a great player, not that in that, but he's never played at an MVP level, hence why he's never won one. I can tell from your face this is going to be quite spicy, but where have you got this as a take?
Honestly, I'm going to put this more in the medium category.
Okay.
Because it's so easy to talk about Jose through rose-colored glasses with fellow Cleveland fans because we just adore him here and we all think that he deserves an MVP. But when you kind of take a step back, he's an outstanding player. There's no doubt about that. His numbers speak for themselves. His consistency speaks for itself too. But the AL has just been so loaded with Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani that I think it's just so hard for him to even break into like the top 3 because you have these guys who, this was obviously when Shohei was still in the Angels, they've just been so dominant every year with their numbers and they're just impossible to beat. So while Jose will always be an MVP every year in our eyes, I do think that that's a fair take from a non-Cleveland fan. So I'll give that a solid medium spice level.
Okay, very, very well put. Cal, where have you got this on your spice scale?
I'm going a little bit lemon and herb, I think. I do think that there's only maybe like 2 or 3 teams where you put him in and he doesn't make the team immediately better. He's very clearly like a top 10 at least player, but he's not the most valuable player. You know, he's phenomenal, he's outstanding, but he's, you know, always the bridesmaid, never the bride kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
I think
I think
too,
he's
when you look at the plain definition of most valuable player, and I know it's definitely changed over time, but I honestly don't see another player being as valuable to a team than Jose Ramirez. Because if you take him out of the Guardians lineup, they have zero offense at all. Which I'm going to talk much more about that later. But when you're looking at the actual definition of a most valuable player, that's when I think like Jose just deserves that through and through. Like if you were to take Judge out of the Yankees, they would still be good. There's really no telling, but it's just Jose has just been so instrumental to the success that the Indians and Guardians have had. And so that's why I think if you go by that definition, then he is obviously much more deserving. But, you know, if you go by our modern standards of MVP with obviously home runs, RBI average, he hits really good numbers, and like I said, he's a very consistent player, but he can't beat guys like Aaron Judge and even like Bobby Witt, Vlad Guerrero. They're just all so good, and so I think it's just very hard for him to kind of break out of there.
100%. He's the most valuable Guardian, but I don't think he's the most valuable player in the league. So yeah, I think pretty mad. What do you reckon, Gaz?
I mean, I put this in to see if I'd get a hot reaction, and I haven't, and I'm a little bit disappointed. I've got this lemon and herb as we said. I don't. I mean, I know MVP is done by player and coach voting, but there's still an element of popularity behind there. I mean, like
For sure.
last year, Cal Raleigh was the AL MVP, and no one will, unless you're a Yankees fan, I don't think anyone will disagree with that. Well, you might do, and it's a fair opinion because Judge had a good season. But anyway, we're getting into specifics that isn't related to Guardians. But yeah, Ramirez, best player on the Guardians team, hands down, has been for the last. Well, I've been a fan since 2023. He's been their best player since 2023, and no doubt before that. But yeah, he's not putting up video game numbers like Aaron Judge was. He's not hitting 50 bombs with a 3.38 batting average like Aaron Judge did.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the kind of metrics that you expect to see in an MVP. And so it makes sense that he doesn't quite meet those standards.
Yeah, Jose, you're still a great player. And if you do happen to listen to this for whatever reason, come on the podcast. Tell us why you don't like playing with Aaron Judge in the same league. We're all ears.
Talk your shit, bro. That's fine.
Our second hot take is we're looking to the 2026 season a little bit early. But the hot take I've got is that the Guardians' rotation is what will hold them back from the AL Central. And, maybe they'll get a wild card, but specifically the AL Central title this year. Sarah, where have you got that?
See, this one, I think this one is more controversial than the Jose one, I think. So I'm going to put this one up there. Not the spiciest one, but it's going to have quite a bit of heat to it. And I think because if you're talking about our rotation, just our starters, because obviously our bullpen, we'll get into that later. Our bullpen is great, but when you look at our starting rotation, they started experimenting with a 6-man rotation toward the end of the season, and all of those guys are so young too. Our oldest starter is Logan Allen. He's 27. Everyone else is either 26 or 25 and have only been in the league for 3 seasons. And it's actually pretty amazing what they were able to accomplish despite having such a young rotation. Their starter ERA was a 3.86, which was 10th in the MLB. They were 11th in strikeouts, 14th in opponent average. So they were above average in all of those categories. And despite them being in the league for only a couple years, I think that each one of them is starting to develop really, really well. So I think that our rotation will be probably our biggest asset if we have any hopes of winning the AL Central again. Because obviously we have no offense and they haven't made any moves so far this year. So we're all kind of like heavily relying on that rotation. But all that being said, because they're young, we don't know if they're going to have that same production next year. I really hope they do. I think every one of them have shown really good flashes of who they can be. So there's just that level of uncertainty. You don't know exactly how they're going to perform next season. So they could be an asset, but they could also be a detriment.
That's fair, and it's quite depressing to hear that every single one of your rotation is younger than me. And I don't consider myself to be that old. Fair enough. So you can try and guess my age from that and my youthful good looks. You wouldn't think I'm a day over 21.
It's okay. They're all younger than me too.
Cal, I'd offer you the same question, but one extra challenge. Can you name me any of the, because just for clarification, Cal knows the San Francisco Giants, and that's about it. So, Cal, can you name me one Guardians pitcher from last year?
I couldn't name you one other Guardians player, let alone pitcher.
There's an obvious one there, though.
Is there?
Yeah, there's
left fielder, two-time All-Star.
Oh, the Waterman. Is that him? Byron Buxton. Does he play for the Guardians?
Oh, that's Twins.
They're the same team to me, man. I don't. Is it Royce Lewis?
No, Twins as well.
No, that's also Twins.
Well. Shit,
he's a smaller guy, leadoff hitter.
Yeah. First name Steven.
Contact hitter.
Quan.
Yeah, there you
go.
Let's go. I'll tell you why I know that, because the Giants were linked with him.
Yeah, they were. I remember. Yeah, there were some heavy conversations surrounding Quan and the Giants right before the trade deadline of last year.
Wild. Anyway, Perry Tamer, I don't know anything. I'm blissfully unaware. I'm excited to learn a lot more today, but I'll enthusiastically back up everything that Sarah said and go, yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that first, actually.
Yeah, I really can't blame you for not being able to name a starter of ours, because I'd be surprised if anybody outside of Cleveland could, who's not like a diehard baseball fan. So you're good.
You'd be surprised. I'm just quite blissfully ignorant to the baseball world around me. I'm here for strong opinions and very little research. So unless it's black and orange, I don't know.
Strong opinions and very little research. That needs to be like a tagline or something.
We're trying. I can name you one starter, and that's the big rig, Gavin Williams. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, he was good last year.
Yeah, he's great. I'm excited to talk more about him too.
And there's a guy called Slade Ciccone.
Yeah, Slade Ciccone.
From the Diamondbacks, I want to say.
Yes, we acquired him in the Josh Naylor trade. So when we traded Josh Naylor to the Diamondbacks, we got Slade Ciccone back.
That's as like obscure as my ball knowledge goes. I also know for some reason that I was with the Rangers. Someone had a rib issue. A random player on the Texas Rangers had a rib injury, and I knew it was a rib injury and not something else. And I can't remember which one. Pardon?
Was it Wyatt Langford?
No, it wasn't Wyatt. I can't remember who it was. No, he was the only healthy one. It's just like obscure ball knowledge that I know. It's like I don't know much about the Guardians. I know you've got Quan. I know you had Clase and Luis Ortiz. They're the ones that got in the betting ring, Cal.
Yep.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah. I knew about that.
Yeah, I'd love to talk more about that too at some point, because it's kind of a crazy saga that's going on.
Do you know what? Let's get into it right now. Those are the two hot takes. Sarah, Sarah being fantastic on them, but let's get into the Guardians proper. So 2025, good season for the Guardians. They won the AL Central with a record of 88-74, beating the Tigers in that series. I think it was series right before the end of the year, which got them the title. What did that win them, Cal? Ding, ding, ding. A wildcard matchup against the Detroit Tigers, which they then proceeded to lose 2-1. So that's where the Guardians' journey ended. But it looked like for a while they weren't going to be in the playoffs. So for them to come back and not only get a playoff spot, but also nick the AL Central it was good going. If you could sum up your season in one word, Sarah, what would it be and why?
If I had to sum it up in one word, I would probably have to go with resilient, because it's been such an up and down season since opening day. You know, they started off the season pretty rocky because we had just traded Josh Naylor and Andres Jimenez, two fan favorite players, and so we didn't really know the expectations were kind of low. So we didn't really know how they were going to do, and they were just very, very mid for that start of the season. And then when the Clase and Ortiz scandal broke, that was in, oh gosh, that was like the end of June going into July. And that was when they were still like mid then too. But then they had that 10-game losing streak shortly after that news broke. And so that was the point of the season where we're like, yeah, let's just wrap it up. We're not doing anything this year. This is just a whole train wreck. And I don't know how they did it, but they started just winning more games. They got themselves back together. The bullpen came together too, despite having, despite everything going on with Class A. So the bullpen clicked. Our starters started to click as well. They started to pitch a lot better. Our offense, I mean, it improved slightly, but enough to win games, obviously. And so when we were 15 games behind the Tigers, though, we had no hope of winning the division. And so when they just started slowly kind of climbing back, we're like, wait a minute, are they about to like do something here? Again, the expectations were low. Like we did not expect them to do it, but they just went on a surge towards the end of the season. And to come back from 15 and a half games, despite all of the shit that happened earlier in the season, I think that that's a huge testament to just their resiliency, their leadership too, because again, they're one of the youngest teams in the MLB, and so they relied heavily on Stephen Vogt and on Jose, and I'll even throw Austin Hedges in there too, and our veteran presence. And yeah, I just think they did a great job of just locking in during that last stretch, and yeah, ended up making that historic 15-game comeback.
Yeah, I don't want to take any credit for that, but we were singing the praises of the Tigers the whole summer. And what we learned pretty quickly, and this was our first year of podcasting, is that whenever we said a team was doing really well, they would then proceed to shit the bed. So we were very high on the Rays, and then the Rays went missing. We were very high on the Tigers, and then didn't really pay any attention. And 1 week out from the season, we're like, oh shit, they could lose this. And it was just.
It got
please
so
refrain
bad.
from saying anything about the Guardians next season.
It got so bad that I spent 10 minutes on a podcast once saying about how great of a guy that Sean Jelly was. And then some really not so great stuff came out. And after that point, we just stopped saying anything positive or negative about anyone. Everything was just very straight down the middle. Just these guys are a team and their form is good.
Yeah, the Tigers were a great team last year, though. I really admire Tarek Skubal, honestly. It sucks hitting against him, and I absolutely hate playing against him, but I mean, he just seems like a great guy off the field. And so I do have a lot of respect for him, and I think the Tiger fans do deserve to have a good team because of how bad they've been recently prior to these last couple seasons. I think the Tigers were a great team, and it was a really, really fun series that we played against them at the end of the season and in the wild card round too.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of people don't give, speaking from a fellow Central fan, being a Cubs fan to yourself at AL Central, no one really gives the Central enough credit each year. In the National League, everyone's like, oh my God, you've got the East, you've got the Phillies, the Braves, the Mets. On the West Coast, you've got, the Dodgers and Giants and Padres, three big teams either side. On the American League side, not so much the West, but the East, you've got the Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays now. And it's like the Centrals just appear to exist to a lot of fans. And it was nice this year that in the National League side, you had 3 playoff teams come from the National League Central with us, the Brewers and the Reds. And likewise, it was nice to have a wild card team come from the AL Central to just show that, no, there are lives there is life in this division. When, they will expand, they will change all of the divisions. But you can now honestly say, like, no, the Tigers, the Guardians, you got good teams there. You got the Royals with Bobby Witt. And then, okay, yes, you've got the White Sox, but that's fine. They deserve to exist as well, to an extent. But
Right. I think it's so easy to overlook the AL Central because we've just been so mid for the last couple years that, and like you said, we don't have any big market teams like the Yankees or Red Sox or Blue Jays that you named. And so it's really just been the Guardians and the Royals, and I'll throw in the Twins too, just kind of like duking it out every year until the Tigers got good. And so now I think for the next couple years, maybe it will just be the Guardians and Tigers just at the top, because the Twins never really do anything. They're probably one of the most like irrelevant teams. I'm sorry if there's any Twins fans listening, but
there'll be
it's
one.
the truth.
There's
And yeah,
one.
the White Sox are a little they're too far gone right now. They still got a long ways to go before they can be relevant again. So yeah, like it's really not, it's not a great division, but it's a competitive division.
It, without trying to, like, it helps when all the teams aren't great, because it does open it up for a team like the Royals, let's say, next year to make a run at it. But yeah, that's enough about the AL Central. We're going to go into specifically on the Guardians now. We normally do this in two parts. We do the hitters and we do the pitchers. But I think because of what went on with Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz, we're going to have three categories. We're going to do the hitters, we're going to have the pitchers, and we're going to have the guys that ended the year on the restricted list. We're going to start with the hitters, or the positional players. So unsurprisingly, Jose Ramirez was in a class of his own, led the team in home runs, RBIs, batting average, stolen bases, and everything in between. Quite well supported by Kyle Manzardo. Is he a lefty masher? Am I correct in that?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he did really well. He got 27 home runs and 70 RBIs. And then we take a little bit of a drop off. No other Guardians player that finished the season on the team had more than 15 home runs. Bo Naylor was closest with 14. Obviously, he didn't want to play without his brother. And then you got names like Daniel Schneemann, Gabriel Arias, Stephen Kwan, who, again, is a contact hitter. Finished with a nice average, 2.72. David Fry, although he was injured most of the year, and Big Christmas, who has been passed around multiple MLB teams like you would for a Christmas present at Christmas, so quite aptly named. And I think you mentioned it before, but you said lack of offense. Would you say that was the biggest issue for the Guardians last year?
100%, yes. All of our offense was literally filtered through Kwan, Jose, and Manzardo, it seems. And that's until Chase DeLauder and George Valera were called up, our two highest rated prospects, who they didn't debut until the end, like the very end of the season, and for the wild card spot. And so we're hoping that our offense will definitely improve with them. But yeah, last year, like it was really just Stephen Kwan, Jose Ramirez, and Kyle Manzardo. Everyone else, they were just way too streaky. And that's where I think the problem lies, is that we have guys like Bo Naylor and Brian Rocchio are two that stick out to me. They are such streaky hitters. Brian Rocchio, he had a horrible start to the season last year, and so they actually sent him down to AAA. He started mashing in Columbus, and then they eventually brought him back up, and he starts hitting really well again. So if he can get going, if this can be like a breakout year for Brian Rocchio, then that would really, really help, especially being a 9-hitter too. So we're hoping that these guys they find some sort of consistency this year.
Yeah, and I think you do need someone else to break out, and we'll touch on it later, but you haven't really made any moves.
No, we haven't. And that's been a huge point of contention just in the Guardians community. Everyone is like, what are we doing, man? Like, we have one glaring need on our roster, and that is a power hitter, preferably an outfielder. And that's something that our GM even addressed in a press conference. He said that was our number one priority, and that we're going to take that approach this offseason, and they have yet to do anything. And so, yeah, it's a little weird. So I don't know if they're going to just run it back next year, or if they're planning, if they're still got something cooking over there. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so that's the positional side. Just moving on to the pitching before we get into probably my favorite of the three, the restricted players. It was kind of like you guys had an okay rotation. I mean, Gavin Williams was your best starter, and he pitched to a 3.06 ERA. which is pretty good. 31 games, 167.2 innings. Tanner Bybee, 4.24. Fine. Logan Allen, 4.25. Slade Ciccone.
Ciccone, yep.
That's the annoying thing. They're all kind of between 4 and 4.3 ERA, which, is fine. But the real strength was your bullpen, led by Cade Smith, everyone's favorite Canadian. Sorry, Freddie Freeman. Pitched to a 2.93 ERA in 76 appearances. I remember in 24, you had the fabulous foursome, and it was Emmanuel Clase as the closer, and then it was Cade Smith, Hunter Gaddis, and the other Tim Herrin.
Yes,
the other one.
yep.
Did they run it back this year? Obviously, Emmanuel Clase's off-field habits withstanding. Were they locked down?
For the most part, yes. Since Clase went down, Cade Smith has obviously stepped into that closing role. And then, they still use Hunter Gaddis regularly, and Gaddis was still a solid pitcher, so he did great for us. So it's been Cade Smith closing, and then Gaddis would come in before him, which was Cade Smith's spot last year. He would come in like the 8th before Clase. So obviously that got that got shaken up a little bit. Tim Herrin, he kind of fell off last year, and we don't really know why. He had such a dominant 2024 season. Everything was clicking for him. He was just pinpoint accurate, and he had some great velocity too. But for some reason last year, he just kind of fell off a little bit. He was not the same Tim Herrin as he was in 2024, and so he struggled a little bit, which caused them to not use him as much. One bullpen arm that we did bring in during the offseason last year was Matt Festa, who did take a lot of the relieving duties from him too, and Festa has been okay. He wasn't like a stellar pitcher like the others, but like he came in and got the job done. But yeah, we were disappointed with Tim Herrin last year, but again, he's so young, and so I'm hoping that he can just find his stuff again this year, because he could be a really, really valuable bullpen asset, especially if we want to keep that core of him, Hunter Gaddis, and Cade Smith.
Yeah, no doubt. Because I think the other person from that four, and we'll go on to it now. I think this is one of your favorite storylines, Cal, of last year, and it was Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz ending up on the restricted list. It was Ortiz first, and then Emmanuel Clase decided to join in on the action, and they're currently still banned. If you don't know why, for allegedly, I say alleged, I can't even say the word, allegedly with inverted commas, taking cash payments to essentially manipulate balls, throw a ball into the dirt, illegal betting activity, all that fun stuff. Cal, what do you remember from this?
That they could have tried to hide it a little bit better. I feel like you got enough control that it's going to be a ball. Don't throw it at the ground, then, man. Like,
yeah, some of those pitches were just egregious that got flagged.
It's bad. It's real bad. That's about as much as I remember that it happened, and it was ridiculous. Whatever.
Yeah, I think what made it funnier was one of I think it was Class A. Was it Clase or Ortiz? Anthony Volpe was having an at-bat, and he threw one in the dirt, and Volpe still swung. So it was a strike. And you can just hear on your breath go, fuck!
Yeah, that's why they fucking picked it up, even more so. But then it's
I think...
Volpe in it then? Because there's no way. There's no way. Even I wouldn't have swung at that, man. Like,
I don't know. I think it might have been Ortiz, because there was one pitch in particular. This was one that was included in the indictment. There was one. Oh, no, actually, I take that back. It wasn't included, but it was one that the fans kind of pointed out. And it was Ortiz on the mound. He threw a horrible pitch. It was in the dirt. And then he turns around and screams, fuck. And the batter swung and struck out on it. And so we're like, why is he acting upset over a strikeout? That was something that we had noticed kind of right off the bat. And that was before he was even investigated. That was when he was still pitching, but people clocked that right away. We're like, why is he upset? He just got a strikeout. And so that was really strange to us. But knowing all of this now, we're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's probably why.
It's one thing to be like, fuck, I lost control of the ball and it was a bad pitch, but surely you turn around and be like, oh, we've got away with one there. Like, just more relief than frustration. But
Right, exactly.
I'd also, like, athletes are different breeds of people just with their competitiveness. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if that was not part of the betting scandal and he was just really frustrated that he lost his control, even though he got the strikeout. There's you can imagine a few other pitchers doing it, but with the betting scandal involved as well, he
Right.
did.
Like it could have been from frustration, but knowing what we do now, it's like that's not a good look for him.
Nah, he did it. He did it.
Yeah. Well, did you see the latest? The latest that just came out from that is that their lawyers claimed that all of the correspondence they had with the bettors, they claimed that it was all for rooster fighting than it was betting on baseball. So they claim that all of the cash transactions and the betting that they spoke about in their texts and their calls to their friends, they claim it was all because of rooster fighting, which is legal in the Dominican Republic. So I'm like, that's a crazy angle to take because either one, it's 100% true, which would be the craziest thing to ever happen, or it's just such a ridiculous lie that I don't know how they expect to get away with that.
That's almost as bad as Otani. That's crazy. It's really, really wild.
I guess before we hit halftime, just to sort of wrap up on this one, how did that make you feel as a Guardians fan, Sarah? Because if it had happened on the Cubs, I'd have been fuming and very angry, not just at the players involved, but also at the wider group. Like, you're not telling me that a manager didn't know what was going on, right? Like the bullpen coach for a Class A, or at least their interpreters if they've got one. How would that make you feel towards your organization on that one, Sarah?
It was a gut punch, honestly, because especially with Clase, it with Ortiz, we had just picked him up, but he was pitching really good. So it was very frustrating when he went down, but the ball really dropped when Clase was involved because he's he just moved into our all-time saves leader the year prior. And so he is statistically one of our he was on pace to be the best reliever not only in Guardians history, but he was on pace to be one of the best relievers just in MLB history. And just for something like that to happen for his career to just end in that fashion after everything he's done for this organization was just like the biggest gut punch you can imagine. Especially going back to 2024 when Clase had that meltdown in the ALCS. My friends and I were all saying, well, did he throw those games too? Because in the indictment, they actually don't mention anything that went on in 2024. It was all incidents in 23 and 25. And so our biggest question was, did he throw pitches in the ALCS game that made us lose? And like if you ask me, like I kind of think he did because that was just such a legendary meltdown that like we have no idea how it happened. He had a sub 2 ERA that whole season long. And then in the playoffs, I think he finished with like an ERA of over 6. And we're like, that doesn't happen, man. I find it hard to believe that he just cracked under pressure, that it was too much for him because he's been in those situations before. And so if it turns out that he was involved in this betting ring during the playoffs and during a potential World Series run, then he's going to end up being one of the most hated athletes in Cleveland history. And it sucks just because of how good he was. Like I said, he was on pace to just be the best reliever this team has ever seen. And for it to just end that way is just horrible because we don't think he's going to pitch again.
I would be shocked if he did. Just to right before we hit halftime, like to leave it on a little bit of a positive note. Long-time catcher Austin Hedges actually pitched in 3 games for the Cleveland Guardians this year, and I'm looking at this. He got a strikeout.
Let's go.
Austin Hedges,
yeah, he did.
Catcher, who hit about 160, got 10 RBIs in. Again, I think I could get 10 RBIs in 70 games just by leaving the bat out there. My man got a strikeout. I'm going to look it up at halftime, see who he struck out. If you do know,
I
Take
don't
half
remember
time.
off the top of my head. No.
If anyone listening does, wants to play along, here's a nice game. We'll make it a new segment. It's going to be Gaz's weird question. It will be one time only in this episode. Austin Hedges struck someone out in 2025. Who do you think it was? Find out after the break. Welcome back to... Oh, I've lifted my mic up. Makes me feel official. If you're watching this on YouTube, you get it. If you're watching this on audio, you don't. Welcome back to a Brit Does Baseball Does podcast, our season review. Still a mouthful. We still haven't learned our lessons. Still here with Cal and Sarah from Caught Lookin, the Guardians baseball podcast. Before the break, I asked a question of Austin Hedges, the backup catcher to the Guardians. Struck out one player last year when he was pitching on the mound. And if you can see Cal's face, it tells a story. It was before he was traded to the Giants, but it was Rafi Devers was struck out by the backup catcher.
What a loser.
Yeah, imagine having Devers on your team.
It couldn't be me, bro.
No. I've never had Cal was so happy, and then within a week was like, "What have we done?"
I wasn't even happy. I was confused. There were so many emotions, but very few of them were positive. That's not what this is about, though. This whole second half is looking forward to the future, where quite a lot of people have been cautiously optimistic. So if I could ask you a favor and to either be positive or negative about it one way or the other, just for some variance, that'd be rad. But 2026, what you thinking? Me as somebody who has never seen a second of Guardians baseball outside of San Francisco, what is there to look forward to with this team next year?
The biggest thing is our rookies. Because I did mention earlier, two of our highest rated prospects did make their debut last year, and that is George Valera and Chase DeLauder. They're both outfielders, and they're both power hitters and contact hitters. And we have been waiting for the debut of those two for years. And so when it finally happened, we're like, all right, like we're getting some reinforcements and they called them up like for the playoffs too. So we were like, oh, that is a lot of pressure for them, especially making their debut in such an important time. But I mean, they performed really well right off the bat. And so I'm really, really hoping that we get to see both of them on the roster for opening day next year, because I think they're two players who everyone is excited about because of the fact that we haven't made any trades yet. We haven't acquired any hitters yet. If we can get a full season of George Valera and Chase DeLauder, if they can stay healthy too, then I think that would be the biggest thing to look forward to. Because the other thing with those two is that they're both injury prone, unfortunately, which is kind of why they've been they faced so many setbacks before making their debut. They do have like a long history of injuries, and so that is a really, really big concern for us next year. And that's also one of the reasons why I wish they would have signed like just a veteran bat to back them up, because you can't guarantee they'll be healthy. And I think expecting them to play a full season might be a little unrealistic, but hey, I'm hoping it happens. But yeah, those two guys, they're going to be really, really good for us next year. They're going to provide a lot more offense, hopefully, knock on wood. So I think those two are the biggest things that I'm looking forward to. And I think also just our pitching too. I do wonder if we're going to stick with that 6-man rotation. I kind of hope so, because it went so well for us. And I think just having that extra day of rest for our starters, it was kind of a game changer, I think. I mean, I think every pitcher kind of benefited from that. And so I do hope we stick with that. And I hope that guys like Gavin Williams can just continue on his season last year, because I think last season was Gavin Williams' breakout year, if you ask me. Tanner Bybee was slated to be the Guardians' ace, especially after we had extended him the spring prior. But he kind of had a rocky season last year too. Like he would have some really bad games, but he would have really good games. And so if Tanner Bybee can just find some more consistency, that would be great for us. But Gavin Williams has been so good. He has the power, he has the velocity, and he just has that accuracy. Like he has all the makings of such an elite pitcher. And he stayed healthy too. Like he's not one that you really have to be super concerned about with injuries. And so if Gavin Williams can capitalize on what he did last year he will definitely be our best pitcher. And so yeah, I think the 6-man rotation, Chase DeLauder and George Valera are the biggest things that I'm looking forward to next year.
Oh, it's exciting. You mentioned that you haven't really made any acquisitions with free agents or trades. Is there anybody, if you could have a little bit of a semi-realistic kind of Christmas list, which we're a little bit late for, but that's okay. Maybe for an Easter list potentially. Is there anyone in particular that you think the Guardians should be kind of really going for?
One of the biggest names that I've seen passed around on Guardians Twitter, because we're always just like tweeting out our theories and our wish list of players, and I'll actually have to look and see who's left because all these players are getting signed left and right. We're like, well, there goes another one that we wanted. But I think a realistic player would be Brendan Donovan from the Cardinals. I think because he's primarily a second baseman, and right now our second baseman is Daniel Schneemann. I love Daniel Schneemann, but he's more of a utility guy. So he can play, like, he's played third, he's played short, he's played outfield. So he's kind of like a super utility player we have. But getting a guy like Brendan Donovan, I think would be really good because he would be a bit of a veteran presence for those young guys too. That would really help. And I don't think I think he's a free agent. Either he's a free agent or we were talking about trading for him. I don't remember exactly, but I do think that if we can't get an outfielder, like I said, I don't even know who's left. I would have to see who remains. I do think that Donovan would be a great get for us, especially if he can play second. Rocchio can move to short, and then that would kind of phase out Gabriel Arias because I'll be honest, I do not want Arias on my team next year. He
I
sucks.
think just bad vibes all around, or is he just ass?
He's just ass, man. Like he has flashes of power because like he can really hit the ball. Like when he makes contact, like he can hit opposite field home runs, but the problem is it just doesn't happen very often. It's like once in a blue moon, he'll have like a monster home run or he'll have like a 2-3 hit game, but like he's just so inconsistent and like you never know what you're going to get from him really. So, if it were up to me, like I would just cut Arias cuz he just doesn't really do anything. He strikes out a lot. So yeah, I think getting a guy like Donovan at second base would kind of help phase him out a little bit, which might be beneficial to us. But that would probably be my number one would be Donovan.
Nice, that's fantastic. It's a lot to look forward to then. And honestly, if the only real like need that your team has is second base, then you're kind of in a good position. Because I feel like there's only really like 4 good like elite second basemen, and then otherwise it's just like he's there, he's hitting like 6th, whatever. He's pretty good. That's it. That's all second basemen, unless they're Brendan Donovan and Nico Horner kind of levels of second baseman.
Right. I do think though, like our biggest need is outfield. Because like I said, with Valera and DeLauder coming in, you can't count on them staying healthy. And so I do wish that we had signed someone that we can kind of platoon them with in case they were to go down or in case they don't perform as well as we would hope, because that's kind of the other side of it. If they stay healthy, there's no guarantee that they're going to start off the season red hot, and there's no guarantee that they're going to perform and exceed expectations because they're still such young players. And so I don't want there to be too much pressure on those two to just immediately start playing well. So it would have been nice to just have just to have more outfielders available so that we're not counting on those two to stay healthy and play well all season long, because it kind of like seems like that's their plan and I'm like I don't see that working. So like outfield is our biggest issue, but yeah, like I said, I don't know who's available anymore, but maybe they'll pull a rabbit out of a hat and work some magic. I don't know.
Yeah, Cody Bellinger hasn't signed yet, so
yeah. I was going to say, what position are you after specifically? Because I've got the list of them opposite me. I mean, there's no one really left field or right field, but centre fielders.
Definitely center. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Mike Tockman's still available. Big fan of his work.
Forever Giant, Forever Cub.
Rocky, White Sox, Yankee. Yeah,
I think he played for the London Mets for half a season as well at this point.
yeah, been around a bit. But centre field, I mean, it's really only Bellinger and Harrison Bader as the two viable.
Oh yeah, Harrison Bader was on a lot of people's radars too. So it would be nice if we could snag him too. Just like I said, just for that reinforcement would be nice. Because I think we do have a couple right fielders. Daniel Schneemann has played right. CJ Kafis has played right. He's been our first baseman with Kyle Manzardo DHing. But he's a guy who can also play right field too. So I do think that center is our area of concern.
Because as aforementioned, I don't know anything about the Guardians, and I can only apologize. Is it a team that like will spend if the guy's there? Like, will with like Harrison Bader, do you reckon they will like at least offer him a contract that's vaguely competitive? Or
Man, I don't know. If you want my honest opinion, I don't think that they will because we are just not known for spending money. And like
right,
you see all of these free agents who get signed, like the Guardians are nowhere in those conversations. Like there's no reporting on, oh, the Guardians offered so and so this contract for this many years. You don't see that. But I will say too that the Guardians organization is very notorious for keeping a lot of things under wraps. You know, they don't let a lot of news get out at all. So for like the trades that we have done in the past, like there has been no precursor to them at all. So they keep things under wraps very, very tightly there. So that's why like I'm asking myself, do they have something in the works and like nobody knows about it? Because that could be very true. It's just there's not a lot of news that gets out of there, which is a good thing. But at the same time, I would like to see at least some activity. I want to see them trying to get these players, and that's just not happening.
right, you are. I do quite prefer the almost like total silence approach to it and being like, we have him now, and it's like, oh, cool, this is great. But it's quite exhausting hearing about the same few teams. Like the Red Sox have held talks with these, and the Blue Jays are talking with that. I don't care who they're
Mhm.
talking to. What's actually happening? And so
Yeah. And it's just the struggle of being a small market team too. Like you literally can't afford to offer guys like Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette. Like we just straight up can't afford contracts like that. And so it makes sense as to why we wouldn't be in conversations with like star players like that. But even just with your average guys, like there has just been no conversations or anything to our knowledge that they've done. And we're also hoping like the one thing we want them to do is extend Stephen Kwan. That is the one thing we want our front office to do. And I don't know why they're dragging their feet so much with it, but if we're not going to sign anybody, Stephen Kwan I think has to be our number one priority because I think not trading him at the deadline last year indicates that we want to keep him and he did sign I think a contract for just over 7 million to avoid arbitration for this season, but we want him to stay in Cleveland so bad. We want him to get extended and so I'm really hoping that it'll come before opening day cuz I could just talk all day long about how good Stephen Kwan is. So hopefully if we don't sign anyone then they could at least extend him. I think that would appease a lot of Guardians fans.
right, you spend the money in the team and kind of reinvest that way would be fine. Maybe one trade for another bench outfielder, but
Right, just anybody but a pitcher. The only acquisitions we have gotten acquisitions this offseason, but they have literally almost all been pitchers and
right.
relief pitchers primarily. And so we're like what are we doing? We're making small moves here and there, but like we need a bat. We don't need another reliever. Like it's been kind of crazy, but I don't know.
Maybe there's more betting scandals going on that we don't know about yet.
Oh
And
my
they're just
god, don't
preparing
even
for
say
it.
that. Don't even say that. It's the last thing we need. But I will also say this too. The Guardians are actually undergoing new ownership in 2028. The Dolans, our current owners, they actually did sell their majority stake to David Blitzer, who he owns the 76ers, the Washington Commanders, and so he has a lot of teams under his belt. He's actually the first owner to have stakes in like all 4 major sports, and I think he owns part of a soccer team too, a Premier League team, but I can't remember which one. But he is very involved in that. So he is going to take over the team in 2028. So there is hope that hopefully he'll come with a different approach, that he'll want to spend a lot more money than the Dolans are willing to. So we do have that to look forward to, and I hope that that'll at least change something.
Right, it's Crystal Palace.
Yes, that was it. That's right.
Which is interesting because all of those teams are quite similar to my knowledge, where they don't tend to hand out huge contracts, but they always seem to have great players.
Hey, we'll be happy with that. It's like we don't need to sign superstar players. Like that's never really been our prerogative. Like we don't need to sign a Juan Soto or a Shohei Ohtani or anyone close to that. Like we just want guys who are going to fit the holes we have in our roster and guys who are just going to be consistent too. So that's all we ask.
That would be good. All we ask is that they are really good at their jobs every single day. But leading into that, we're trying to put together like a little graphic so that we're asking everybody what they think their team's win over or under is going to be, and then we'll come back at the end of the year, hopefully, if we remember, and kind of see how you all did. So have you got a rough estimate for how many wins you reckon they're going to go for this year?
Considering that we went 88-74 last season, I kind of expect to be within that ballpark. But again, there's a lot of uncertainty with our rookies and how they're going to perform. So I'll take the benefit of the doubt and I'll like hang around there. I'll say 85.
Okay.
It's a little optimistic, I think, but
optimistic. I'd have gone 90. You got me excited about these rookies, man, and this pitching rotation. I'm all in on the Guardian. I'm all in on everyone that I've spoken to this year. Talking to fans of other teams is actually great.
That's a cool thing you guys do for sure, and it's fun for me to talk about the Guardians with non-Cleveland people too. So they are a fun team. They're enjoyable to watch. They just have a lot of likable guys. So yeah, it'll be fun. They're a good team.
Nice. Well, my official guess is 90. I'm believing. Let's go.
World Series. I love it. Who was it that guessed 116 wins? Because I keep saying this every podcast. Was it Nico with the Angels?
No, he said like 88 or something. Wild.
That is as wild as someone saying 116.
For the Angels?
Was it me?
Did you say 100? Was it you and Dylan on the Giants? It could have been.
Dylan say it was going to be 116 wins for the Giants this year.
I don't know what's more outrageous, that or 88 wins for the Angels.
Well, you said we need an over-under, so we said 116 and we take the under.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. You got me there.
Yeah, I would bet my entire next paycheck on that under.
Watch him go and do it. Watch him go and do it. If I did that, I immediately know that Giants are going to win 120 games.
I'll never sleep again. I'll never sleep again if that happens. I'll just be celebrating until I can celebrate physically no more.
And then you'll celebrate beyond that as well. Go beyond your limits.
No, because then the Dodgers will win the World Series anyway, and I'll be sad again. Who cares?
At least you won't lose them in the World Series. It will be the Guardians will play the Dodgers in the World Series instead.
Oh yeah, the power of friendship. That's how we refer to the Guardians. They're just the power of friendship, and that the Dodgers are just amassing all of these players like fucking Thanos and his Infinity Stones just to beat Jose Ramirez and Brian Rocchio.
I genuinely think. Sorry, I don't want to talk about the Dodgers too much because A, I don't like the Dodgers, and B, it's a Guardians episode. I generally think Freddie Freeman is a lovely man. I generally think the rest of them, like Freddie Freeman in the clubhouse, is trying to be friends with everyone, and the rest of them are just like, fuck off. Like, go get a double.
There was an advert I saw recently. I don't know if I spoke about this, but it's Freddie Freeman comes into like a children's hospital.
Yeah, the one with Ryan Reynolds. Yeah.
Oh,
I've seen it.
is it with Ryan Reynolds? I've not seen it with him, but he like walks in and he's like, "Hey guys," and they're all like, all the kids are wearing Blue Jays hats, and they're like, "Get out."
That's amazing.
We don't forgive you. And he's like, all right, I'm sorry.
Sarah, I think we've got one more question before we wrap up. The main part of the podcast before we end with our last segment. Pretend that I'm new to baseball, which I was 3 years ago. Fresh out the, I don't want to say the womb, but fresh out the, womb to baseball. And I'm looking down that list of teams, and I go, the Cleveland Browns. Yes, not big on them as a football team.
Neither
Cavaliers, not had the Brom for a while, not too big on them. But I want to support a Cleveland team. Oh, the Guardians. They sound cool. They sound like they could guard my interests financially. I make up this shit every episode, so I do apologize.
You can't tell, man.
Yeah, this is all ad hoc, ad lib even. Not ad hoc. We do this regularly. Basically, the question is, if I was new to baseball, why should I be a Guardians fan, in 2026 and going forward?
That's a really good question. The biggest point I would make is that we just have a team of such likable guys. Jose Ramirez, obviously, his loyalty to the team and to the city is the reason why he will get a statue here. We are 100% sure of it. And so you have guys like him, Stephen Kwan, who's just so good at what he does. He's so good at the fundamentals and just pure baseball. Not only are they all just good players on the field, but they're good people off the field too. And going off of that too, just our leadership, our management staff, all of our players are pretty much all just homegrown guys who have went through our system. And I think they have a lot of trust in their players. And in turn, the players have a lot of loyalty to the organization and to the city. I think a lot of them, when asked about why they love Cleveland, they always just say they love the city, they love the fans, and they're treated well here. And that makes us really happy too, is because we're a small market team, we're a smaller city, and so we take so much pride in our players and the guys who get to represent the city. And just every single year, we just have such good guys on our roster. They're so easy to root for. They're not here for the money. Like I said, Jose being a shining example of that. So I think if you just really like good, clean baseball, players who are just so good at the fundamentals of the game, that it's just so much fun to watch, then I think the Guardians are your team.
Sold. I'm buying a jersey tomorrow. That's great.
That's either Jose or Stephen Kwan.
Might do a class.
They're just so good at what they do. It's crazy. I could go off on a tangent about Stephen Kwan, but I'll spare you guys from that. But he's just been a godsend for us. He's so much fun to watch.
This is why we need a Patreon for stuff like that. And people can pay to listen to how good Stephen Kwan is.
He is. I could probably talk for an hour straight about it. I'm not even joking.
Have a Patreon, and the content won't even be from us. It will be, here's Sarah to talk about Stephen Kwan for the next hour.
Help us extend Stephen Kwan by donating to our Patreon.
On a side note, if you do want to buy a jersey, click on our affiliate link. Do it through the MLB Baseball store. Support the podcast. The link's in our bio.
On Instagram or just...
Yeah, on Instagram. I don't have the link anywhere else. I don't know how. I'm not good with technology.
So I don't know how it works, I'll be honest. Yeah,
that's why I deal with that. Anyway, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us for the Cleveland Guardians season review. Normally, in a normal podcast, you probably say goodbye, farewell, Alvida saying goodnight. But we like to end with a start bench cut or two. In fact, it's
let's
two.
Do it.
So we always end with start bench cut. If you don't know how start bench cut works, because I've been doing a lot of these solo shows recently, I've been taking words from Cal's normal spiel, which is welcome to your third birthday or your first year of school. I've done so many at this point. If you don't know what start bench cut is, Google it. I can't help you anymore. I'm going to give Sarah 3 options for a baseball one. Cal's going to do the non-baseball one. Sarah, you have to start one, you have to bench one, you have to cut one. Happy?
All right, let's do it.
So am I. So for your baseball one, I've gone for 3 players that have, since I've been like into baseball the last 3 years, these players are more recent people that are synonymous with Cleveland Guardians as a franchise. So we're not talking about legendary players. We're talking about players that have been a big part of your history for the past 10, 15 years in some cases. All of them are still playing, as far as I'm aware. 2 of them definitely are. The third one, potentially not, but we'll see. And I just want you to think of it from a, who would you love to have back on the Guardians if they were available next year? So the 3 options
right.
I've got Francisco Lindor, who is still playing the shortstop for the Cleveland Guardians. Not the Cleveland Guardians, sorry, the New York Mets. I've got Shane Bieber, not Justin, who you traded away for, I think it was like a ham sandwich, basically, for the Blue Jays. Or you've got the guy who loves Cleveland so much, he's gone back 16 times, Carlos Santana.
Oh my gosh.
Who would you start bench and cut?
Oh boy. Okay, so I would definitely start Lindor because he's still putting up crazy numbers and he's still like very much in his prime, I think. To have him on this team would just be incredible, just to get him and Jose back together again. So I would start Lindor. Oh my God. Well, considering how Santana did when we signed him last year, I'm going to have to bench Bieber and cut Santana. It pains me too because we love Carlos Santana. He is so loved in Cleveland, but it just did not work out when we signed him last year. He was just way too inconsistent, which sucked because the year prior when he was on the Twins, I believe, he had a really good season. And so we were optimistic bringing him in, but he couldn't perform to expectations. And so it was sad that we kind of had to cut him in the way we did, but he'll always be a legend in that ball club for sure. So I would have to cut him, but Shane Bieber I would definitely want to keep around because he's still shoving. And I'll always be a Shane Bieber fan too. I really wish that he could have pitched at least a couple games for us last year because we had traded him before he was able to
He was still
come
down
back
in
and pitch a
AAA.
game for the Guardians. Yeah, he was still pitching in the minors when we traded him, which was sad. So yeah, start Frankie, bench Bieber, and cut Santana. Sadly,
Fantastic. I don't feel like I know enough about, because I would do it from like a Cleveland legend perspective. I don't know enough about them in their time in Cleveland to answer. Cal, should we move on to the non-baseball one, or do you want to answer this one?
I'm just going to say that Carlos Santana's a hell of a guitarist. So if the baseball thing doesn't work out, you can always go back to his music career. I've Cleveland, if I'm wrong, it's the home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, isn't it?
sure is.
And that would have been an easy thing for me to talk about was music. But I remembered that far too late. So we're talking about food that is apparently popular in Cleveland. I'm going to prefix this with a huge apology. This could be so wrong. I've Googled what food is popular in Cleveland, and it's thrown these things at me. I really hope that they are. So your start bench cut is pierogies, which are delicious, corned beef sandwiches, which are also vaguely British, so that's cool, and it said Polish boy. Okay, that laugh indicates that we might know what a Polish boy is, hopefully. 'Cause I don't.
Yeah, I mean it's referred to here as a po' boy,
I was
basically.
going to say, is that not a po' boy?
Yeah.
It said fully just Polish boy.
Yeah, po' boy it sounds a lot better. It rolls off the tongue better, but this is a good one though. I'm a huge pierogi lover, so I will absolutely start pierogies. Oh boy, I'll have to bench. Ooh. Okay, if we're talking about corned beef sandwiches instead of Reubens, I'll bench po' boys and I'll cut corned beef sandwiches because if it's just the corned beef and the bread, then yeah, that's fine. That's kind of whatever. But I do like a good Reuben with like Thousand Island and the cabbage and everything. But we are known for our corned beef sandwiches. But yeah, I'll go with start pierogies. Why did I just lose my train of thought? Start pierogies, bench po' boy, cut
Cut the corned beef.
the corned beef. That's right.
I was quite massively taken aback because like we have corned beef in the UK, but like a corned beef sandwich is something like that your granddad would eat, and you'd kind of be like, "What are you doing, granddad? You can do better than that." And so to see it was like the second most popular thing on Google for Cleveland, I was shocked. I was shocked and surprised, but you know.
Yeah, you would never really guess, but Cleveland, I mean, we're known for a lot of our like ethnic kind of food scene because we have a very heavy Polish population, which is where the pierogies come in. So yeah, the food scene in Cleveland is really, really good, and it's a lot better than I think people expect.
Interesting. I do love some Polish food and Eastern European food in general. When we do our great US tour of everywhere, we'll definitely have to get some pierogi. Have you ever had a pierogi, guys?
I thought you were saying Peroni, the beer. So no.
No. Pierogies are essentially small pillows of heaven, and they come with like, I assume it's the same, but like sour cream, spring onions, and bacon kind of is a thing. And there's like potato and onions in it. They're the best. They're the fucking
Yeah, it's
best.
like stuff with like potato and cheese, really. But yeah, like you have it with sour cream with caramelized onions. It's so good. I love
Sold.
pierogies.
Sold.
Ridiculous.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, when you make your way to the States, come to Cleveland, go to the Rock Hall, get some pierogies. It'll be a fun time.
Sick. I'm so down.
Okay, we unfortunately, Sarah, we've got to be like Rafi Devers in an at bat against Austin Hedges, and we need to get out of here because
Okay.
we're striking out looking. But before we go, as you said before, we need time to plug something, and we've plugged Brit Does Baseball. It's only fair that you get to plug whatever you'd like to plug. So, Sarah, over to you.
All right. Yeah. Well, if there's any Guardians fans listening or just fans in general of the MLB, I co-host a podcast called Caught Lookin. It is an all-female baseball podcast. We have around 8 to 10 contributors who we rotate 4 or 5 an episode, and we just kind of talk everything Guardians. We cover the Cavs a little bit, as well as just some fun stuff too. It's not super analytical. We're pretty laid back and chill, and we have a lot of fun. So yeah, check us out at Caught Lookin Clee on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that fun stuff.
And we'll be sure to include the link to your podcast and Instagram channel, A, in the Instagram post, and B, in the description.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
All that's left to say is I haven't done this in a while because it's just been me by myself. But I've been Gaz, Cal's been Cal, and Sarah, you've been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of A Brit Does Baseball Does Season Review, this time talking about the Cleveland Guardians. Thank you, and good night, Rafi Devers.